show's gripping introduction and the ominous music at the very beginning, which I can still hear in my head. Don't try to play it back. Just go home and YouTube it. It's unmistakably peculiar voice of Mr. Well, you chopped it, didn't you? Yes.
It's just I chopped the size and shorter.
You
Yeah.
had this. You had some spring regrets last year too. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. It
it
happens
it
every time.
last year was over those planter boxes. You remember that?
What?
The
Over
planter,
those?
those garden boxes. You didn't really
Yeah,
regret it. You were just struggling with putting them up.
yeah. But I mean, I probably had this beard regret last. If it wasn't in the spring, it was in the summer. It always happens when the sun comes out.
I,
I get a feeling I want to change my beard, and I regret. Yeah.
well, you know, I didn't had spring regret. I had beard regret. I just had a problem with the white. This is not colored. This is not colored. Okay.
No?
So it's all white until it gets about
Yeah.
here. And I was coloring it for the longest time. And finally people were like,
Yeah.
dude, you've got to stop coloring that beard. And I'm like, man. So I finally did. I finally
Yeah.
did.
And it's a beautiful gray beard. You
Thank
should
you.
have it that way. It's
Well, wearing it
yeah.
proudly now, showing my wisdom. What's happening, everybody? This is Patrick in America, along with Karl, my good Swede
Yeah.
friend. Welcome to another edition of TransAtlantic. We were just talking about lots of things, but I wanted to start off by asking you about the show, the festival that you went to.
Oh yeah. It was great.
Okay,
Mostly.
yeah. So,
There
what
was
was that? It was a light. It was Light the Dark Festival, correct?
yeah, yes,
Held in Sweden.
yeah.
Okay, and you went.
I went and I
Tell.
did see Tourniquet and Drottnar and Skald and some other stuff too. I wasn't there all the time. I was there for certain bands. Was a band called Of Ash that was great, really good
I Were
new
they
stuff.
one of the
Yeah,
videos you sent me?
was it the girl with the harp
No,
in it?
not unless I missed one.
Okay, yeah. In one of the videos, the she has the harp. In one, she doesn't. But so, so
Oh, okay.
they have a female vocalist who also plays the harp, and it's not metal per se. It's more like you get a vibe of Woven Hand, and you get a vibe of
Oh, okay.
early Savior Machine, and you get a vibe.
Yeah,
You get a lot of
yeah.
vibes from. It's really emotional, and it was touching. Really getting
And it,
hold.
of
Yeah,
Ash,
of
of
Ash.
Ash.
Yeah, no recordings made or anything so far. It's just so
Interesting.
other
Okay.
than yeah. So and our drummer played the drums with of Ash. So
Oh,
he's like
nice.
a stage musician. He's
Yeah.
not involved in writing the music or anything, but he's helping them out on live shows.
Yeah.
So,
You got to
well, I
see
think this
turn.
is probably the first live show. Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah. It's the
fantastic.
problem with Tourniquet. This is the thing. The Tourniquet should have been the headline.
Oh, how far
That
down the list were they?
well, they had there was one band after them, and they had to cut short to the anger of the mass, and it's so unnecessary because so Tourniquet Tourniquet had a 2 hour gig, and Scald after had like a 30 minute or supposed to have a 30-minute gig. and they had to cut like one and a half song or something. Uh, it would have been better to hear Tourniquet for 1 hour 45 minutes and get the full other one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and yeah, so some people were were really angry about that.
Yeah.
People who have gone from Switzerland just to see that band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also they also cut Dutna short in the middle early. It was early in the day, but they had too tight changeover, unrealistic, and it's messed up a lot of things. But the Tourniquet was great, but they didn't have to be great for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if you had put them last, I mean, they are the headline. That's like from every aspect, they are the headliner.
Yeah.
And also, they could afford a song or two since they had a 2 hour gig. So,
Yeah. They their next show, I saw the first one. You've seen now the second one. I'm
yeah,
going back to Ohio in June to see the third one. Spoken is opening up for them. And I'm excited just because I know that, it is it's going to be a treat. It's going to be an absolute
yeah,
treat. Um, but I also know that it's, I don't know how many shows they're going to be able to get in, doing this,
yeah,
the tourniquet, stop the bleeding side of it.
yeah.
I think they have to call themselves a Stop the Bleeding and Tourniquet tribute just because of Ted Kirkpatrick dying with the rights.
Yeah, I think something
Yeah.
that's what I gather as well. There was something about that because they said, well, we go by the name Stop the Bleeding, but you know who we are, don't you? And we hope
Yeah.
we'll fix this soon. So I guess it's with the rights and
Yeah. It's still great. Gary Linear has been posting some videos, full songs, some clips,
yeah,
and some of the stuff that he's been throwing out there. I just can't wait to hear him live. But
hmm
hear him live again. And this time I think it's for
yeah,
90 minutes instead of the
yeah,
45 or whatever they had the first time. And they got cut short.
yeah,
They got their stuff unplugged. So did Deliverance,
yeah,
which just
yeah,
is a whole other story. But cool. Well, I'm
yeah,
glad you got a chance to see them there and go to that festival.
yeah.
Um, well, man, as we jump into our topic today, I wanted to just let you have the floor and tell me what's burning on Karl today.
Yeah, I've been thinking because I've been looking at our talks, and we have been talking about we're talking about authority,
Yep.
and we talked about turning the other cheek. If what Christ is teaching is really the opposite of turning the other cheek, or
Yeah.
the opposite of an eye for an eye, or if it's just a smarter way, you know,
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
is if it's just one is reactive and the other one is proactive, and we step it up a notch. The church, here comes
Yeah.
the kingdom, and
Amen.
so I was thinking about those other sayings there around the other sheep, and and I got to remember some. I'm not much of a pacifist. I, I guess you know that. So, but I've been reading up on their literature, how they read things and stuff because I'm interested,
Sure.
and so it was like some, what do you call it? Not a sermon, so a teaching where they talked about like the non-violence principle or whatever, and then they, of
Yes.
course, they always come to these about not answering evil with evil, stuff like that. So, and according to this study or whatever, so I'm out on thin ice here because I don't know. I don't know if it's true.
Sure.
Something. I mean, when you read things like in the notes and around the text, I can swear it's true. If it's in the Bible, I can swear it's true. Okay, so but from what I've heard, um, it's for example, going the other mile, that the background for going the other mile is that a Roman soldier had the right to demand of a Jew to walk 1 mile in his service. Much
Eh,
like when a police officer says, I'm accommodating this vehicle, stuff like that.
right. Okay.
Like,
It's
I need
called
you, I need, yeah,
it's called going the extra mile a lot of times.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but the first mile is the one they the first mile is the oppression, right? That's the like we are the big bad wolf and we can make you walk 1 mile in our service, right?
Yes.
But the second mile, that is yours. That's when that's I mean, if you go the second mile or the other mile, you take charge of the situation. It's like turning the other cheek. It's like, you know, oh,
I
so
see
you
you and
thought
I
I was
raised you one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you thought I was carrying this bag for you 1 mile for you. No, I did it for the Lord, and I'm gonna keep on walking. You know,
Well, it's
I
funny that
did
you
it
bring
for
that
my
up, brother. Well,
yeah.
it's
I
in the
did it.
Beatitudes. If you don't mind.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead,
That
finish
no,
your
no.
thought. I was just going to
That,
say it's in the Beatitudes in Jesus Sermon on the Mount, right? Yeah,
yeah,
Sermon on the Mount.
I think so.
And it's about retaliation. It's found in Matthew 5. In fact, it's regarded as his response to retaliation. He says,
Yeah,
"You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth
yeah,
for a tooth. But I
yeah.
say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn him the other also. And if anyone would sue you, take your tunic. Let him have your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to
I
go to
was
a mile, go 2 miles. Give to the one who
yeah,
begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you." It is the antithetical response to what our flesh wants to do. Someone
yeah,
slaps
yeah,
us.
yeah.
We
Yes,
talked
I know.
about this in the year, for an eye, tooth for a
But
tooth.
this is also the thing is that so in one case here, it seems like in all of these situations, the aggressor is someone above you in
Mm,
authority, right?
that's a great point.
It's a Roman soldier. He can make you walk a mile, so you walk another because you are not the tail, right? You're the head,
Give him the
right?
tunic. What would tunic come
Yeah,
from? It comes from the
yeah.
head,
So
right?
that yeah, but no, no, the tunic is a
That's
garment,
right. Yep,
but
yep, yep, yep.
so but the
Turban.
tunic that's also someone is suing you, like they come from above here. They sue you for your stuff, and then you go and then you start stripping in the court. You just take all of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
in a way it's holding up a mirror to what they are already doing, right? Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great
So you
point.
they take all of it, and you start, throwing your boxers around, and people are stop that guy, you know.
Right?
But it also shows it 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 shows to the aggressor, I think, and to the surrounding. What's going on here is like he is taking advantage of his position because he can. So well,
Yeah.
take my take my jammies, take everything.
You know,
So
when we
and also yeah, yeah,
no, I'm just going to throw out there the whole thing with like Moses. Remember that when he was banished from Egypt, from the
yeah,
royal family of Pharaoh. Well,
yeah,
he ran away, but remember what
yeah,
happened? One of the Egyptian guards was beating on an
yeah,
Israelite, and he killed
yeah, and
him,
he killed him. Yeah.
and then he bolted. Um, uh, you want to tie that in a little bit to your thought?
I have no connection there. I
Well,
haven't thought about that. Yeah,
we know what Jesus said, and that's what is
yeah,
the overarching view. But you notice here that
yeah,
he banished himself from the land for a long period of time, 40 years, right? So I
yeah,
believe it was 40 years. I could
yeah.
stand corrected on that.
It's 40 years.
Yeah, because he was like 70 when the Lord came to him. But
Hey,
regardless of his age,
yeah,
he was out of the land for a long period of time, but he left the land because he let his aggression, his anger towards
yeah,
that guard get the best of
yeah,
him. And what was he doing? He was
yeah,
standing up for a fellow Israelite, which he was one. And so it
yeah.
doesn't matter if it's an
But
Israelite
the
or
thing is, the reason
Egyptian.
he's
Right?
there's a incident like the day after when he tries to make there's two Hebrews fighting, and he's like, "Hey, stop that!" And
Yeah.
one goes, "Oh, so you're gonna kill me like you killed that
Killed that.
Egyptian?"
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where that's
Yeah.
where when he runs. So I mean, he's standing up for them, and they
Yeah.
throw it in his face, and he's like, "I'm, they will not have my back.
Yeah. He's like, I'm
I
out.
tried."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
But however, so the third one, the other sheik, in some of the text, it's just one sheik and the other sheik. But in the one you mentioned here, it's on the it's on the right cheek.
Yeah.
And so, and this is also from Bible notes and stuff, so I can swear to it. But what I've heard is that this is not about violence per se. It's a if you got in their culture, when you hit someone, you use your right hand. You don't use the unclean hand, right? So
Right.
if you slap someone on the right cheek and you use the right hand, it's a bitch slap. It's a it's not a it's what do you call it? It's like a rebuke or dominate.
Yeah. It's a
It's like
rebuke.
something. It's something that you would do to a servant.
Sure.
It's not something you do. It's not for a street fight. This is a like you show that you show your position when you. So if you turn the other cheek in this scenario, you force him to hit you like an equal.
Fair.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It
How
is
this like
really interesting,
all,
actually.
all these are where like people coming from above, like you have to carry my bags because I'm the fancy person, and you go, well, you got some more, you know,
Yeah.
and and you're like they sue you of your coat, and you go, oh, are you a little cold? Maybe you want my shirt too, you know. And
Sure.
and and here's like, yeah, if you're gonna beat me, if you're gonna hit me, hit me like an equal. It's
Yeah.
it's something in the it's something here about not being a victim.
Well, I want
You know,
I
you
want to
take
use your
back your
lyrics.
agency. Yeah.
I want to use your lyrics. I am
Okay.
obligated to turn the other cheek. You are not obligated to strike. I advise you to
Yeah.
walk away. I advise you strongly. For when you
Go.
strike the second time, you walk across the final line. If you mind me and mind me well, you will hear the blood of Abel screaming in my veins. You will see the mark of Cain burning upon my face. I've got it
Yeah.
screen shared right now. Your wonderful lyrics from The Last Cheek, plug for
Yeah.
that album. Fantastic song from obviously Marching Out of Babylon. But what was going through your mind with writing
Yeah.
this?
This
Because you do
actually,
say in the next set of lyrics, I am guilty of sin, but my avenger is the holy God. And I
yeah.
think,
So
okay,
when it comes to the thing is, yeah, it's a lot of things going through my mind here, and one of them is have you seen The Witness with from 84, 85 or something with what's his name, Harrison Ford,
oh, yeah, yeah, that's a
when
fantastic
he goes
movie.
in when he goes
Amish,
into
Amish
Amish.
country.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there are these guys who push the Amish around just because they can.
Yeah.
And he's walking up there, and he's hitting back. So that is the thing here, is they are so surprised. But you know, just because I'm a Christian doesn't you can't be sure I'm a good Christian. Wait, isn't that really
Yeah.
wise to see? Is it really wise to to push the line just because you can? Because you could get a nasty surprise. So
Okay.
I recommend you do not walk across. I mean, I've seen a way that turning off the cheek also is the chance to, okay, you blew off some steam, you or you finished,
Hmm.
that you give the other person a chance to walk away. But it's kind of stupid to test it because I mean, I am, yes, I'm a Christian, but I'm also a human being, and you don't know where I've been. And
This is
I mean,
why respecting fellow human beings is such an important
yeah,
part of
it,
being a true believer, a human being, but
yeah,
definitely being a believer. We are to accept people where they're at and get to know them and let them share
yeah.
their experiences. Right?
And one of the things I was thinking about was this Harrison Ford movie. Another thing is a story that I heard as a kid about a preacher in the 50s. I have this wonderful uncle who has all these old stories. And this one it stuck in my mind because it kind of, I guess deep calls to deep or something. But this pastor, there was, so the opposition they had back then in the 50s, there was those James Dean types of guys going around in their big cars with leather jackets and being
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
jubilant, what do you call it?
Oh, adolescence or juvenile.
Juvenile criminals. Yeah,
Yeah.
juvenile
Yeah.
criminals. So, so they walked up the aisle. It was a tent meeting. So they walked up the aisle, and one of the guys gives the preacher a real haymaker. And
Okay.
according to the story, he turns his head, he smiles a bloody smile, he spits out a tooth, and then he turns the other cheek. And then he or the other guy, I don't know, one of those juvenile delinquents is stupid enough to give him the other punch as well from on the other side of his face. And then he spits out a tooth again. I don't know if this is uh, if this story has gotten better over time or if this is what happened. But so he spits his other tooth, and then he smiles and says, "Well, after that, no more is written." And then he beats them so severely
Oh.
that so it's like I think I kind of like it because that's the kind of person I am. But I think it's also a
Right.
good lesson. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
you just you just showed your pals that you got the guts to you know to just go to this guy and give him a haymaker, and you had the chance to get away with it, but you couldn't let it go, could you? Right?
But what makes a human? What makes a human do that? Everybody craves vengeance or retribution. In Christ, we learn that retribution is God's, right? Vengeance is God's.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you a question because a lot of people don't know about
Mhm.
Swedish law that are
Yeah,
watching it from the States. Those of your friends who
yeah,
might see this and know, of course. But let me ask you kind of a different question.
yeah.
Your thoughts on capital punishment. Um, and is it legal in Sweden?
It is not legal in Sweden, and
Okay.
I am
Do
on the
you agree?
fence a little.
Okay.
I think that capital punishment is biblical, and
Okay.
I have no problem with cops killing in a gunfight or like to prevent a crime
Oh,
or whatever.
well,
But
especially
I
if they're
have,
protecting themselves. Absolutely.
yeah, or others. So, but I have a little. So I'm in principle, I am for capital punishment, but I'm a little uneasy over capital punishment because I don't really trust the system, you know. So if like so someone is
That's a
shooting
great
at you,
point.
someone is shooting at you, they're shooting at you. Then
Yeah.
it's not up to the evidence. It's not up to people what do you call it? Perjuring. What do you call it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perjury.
Perjury. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like yeah, the bullets are flying, and and he is shooting. So that then it's no problem. But when I just don't really trust that you're our judges and stuff enough to be, you know, to be uh, comfortable about capital punishment when it's
Well,
handed out in court. I rather see the aggressors die in battle, so to speak.
well, we have state to state in the
Yeah, I know.
United
Yeah,
States. Yeah. Yeah. So with 50 states,
but
we
it's in
have
principle, if you shed the blood of man, by man your blood shall be shed. It's older than the law.
well,
It
it
is,
comes from, yeah,
and
Genesis 9:6.
mm,
Whoever sheds the blood of
yeah,
man,
by
by man
man shall
shall
his blood
his
be shed.
blood be
Yeah,
shed, for God made man
for
in
in
his own
blood
image.
there is the life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Whoever takes a human life
So
shall surely be put to death. That's in
yeah,
Leviticus 24:17. Yeah, they're okay, but again, again, Old Testament law. Old Testament law,
yeah.
um, understood
It, but it,
understood
but
that's in,
this is older than law of Moses. It's the law for all mankind
no doubt,
because
but
it's
that's why
given to.
it's but it's restated in Levitical law based on what was given
Yeah,
well
yeah,
before Moses, right?
yeah.
But those three of civil, um, ceremonial, and what's the third one? Civil, ceremonial, and the laws, the groupings of laws. Um, it'll come back to me in a second, but what we have is, having to look
Civil
at the,
ceremony, no, moral.
yes, moral law. Thank you. So
Yeah,
civil, ceremonial, and moral law. If we break those three up, we know that Christ is a fulfillment of law. But a
yeah,
ceremonial law, almost all
yeah,
ceremonial law, clearly, the moral code is, or the moral laws have never been abolished or never been fulfilled. They are fulfilled. And if you love God and you love your neighbor as yourself, you're not going to just outright murder somebody. Now, is murder
no.
when you're, a police officer, and in the line of duty, and somebody takes a shot at
That's
you,
not
and
murder.
nope,
That's
that's not
killing.
murder.
That's different.
There's also a
Yeah,
difference between war, going to fight for your country.
yeah,
That's wartime. That's not murder unless you commit an act of murder
yeah.
under the
And self
guise.
defense is not murder either because it's war.
Nope.
Self
Especially
defense
if
is just
you're
a two-man war.
and in
It's
your
just
home,
a
if somebody
small war.
comes in to attack,
Yeah,
or if anybody goes to
yeah,
attack you, you have the right to defend your body and your family. So we
yeah,
understand that. That's not murder. Murder is a
yeah,
premeditated act of hatred from the heart that can only be, you know, can anybody murder? Of course they could, but most people are not inclined to take the life of another human being. There's a subjected heaviness to this. Now, go
yeah,
work in jail ministry and prison ministry. When you
yeah,
talk to
yeah,
murderers, which I have and done and still do,
yeah,
they struggle. They struggle with what they've done.
yeah,
Regardless, we understand those laws are there for a purpose. So we know that
yeah,
taking another human life, you better be damn well straight that they're guilty. So what you said a little bit ago was, in and of itself, capital punishment isn't a problem. But if we're punishing somebody without due process, and we know
yeah.
for
And that's
100%
what I'm not
clarity,
really. That's where
that's
I
why
don't
I
feel
have a
like to be
problem with
sure.
it
But
sometimes.
when
Yes.
if I come in my house and someone is attacking my wife, I don't need a witness. I just
Amen to that. I'm going to
because
beat the, yeah,
because
they're
because
dead.
I mean it's an ongoing thing, so I don't have to. It's not about evidence, and nothing can go wrong except me missing the shots. That's what can go wrong. That's the only thing. So yeah, well. where were we? Yeah. So
Well,
what I
I wanted
felt
to know
was that
your
these
take on
these
I wanted to know your thoughts on capital
yeah,
punishment because when you're talking about that's just a
yeah,
way of
like
understanding.
everyone in Sweden is against it until they get angry. You know? Then
Same
they
way
are
in the
for it.
States. But
Yeah.
going back to your original thought, I wanted to interject that because when you're talking about
Yeah.
self-defense, things like that. So go ahead and finish your
So
thought, though.
what I was I thought this kind of bound the topic of the moral principle of an eye for an eye, that is actually the teaching of Christ, but he's taking it a bit step further to be, you know. So we do according to what we want back. We do not do according to giving back. Right? So we are
Right.
proactive. We are the head and not the tail. That's in the blessing in Deuteronomium, and you will be the head and not the tail. You will be over and not under. So that's
Yeah.
so that part there, and also what when we talked about authority, that we really, since we obey, yeah, we can let authority believe that we obey, but we're actually just obeying God.
Yeah.
because when there's a fork in the road, we go with God. So if they feel better by thinking that we obey them, let them do that. But we are obeying God.
Well said.
Uh,
Well said. So when we
and
talk
so
about
and here, so when we carry the Roman soldiers bag another mile, we are, you know, it's like, yeah,
yeah,
you know, you're not making me do this. I I carry the burden of my fellow man, you know, because of
it
God,
it
because
says a
God
lot.
told me, you know.
Yeah, because he's asked us to go that extra mile.
Yeah, but I mean, it's it's not just extra sacrifice. It's also getting back your agency and
Yeah. Yeah.
your because the one who is cowering in a corner and begging someone to stop, he is a victim. The one who turns the other cheek and spits some blood, he is he is not he is not a victim.
Yeah.
He is, you know,
Yeah.
he he is um, and I think that being a victim makes us bitter. You know, it's very
Oh, I
easy
agree
to
with
be.
that. I
But
agree with that wholeheartedly.
if we decide, you know, to let one slide, it's another thing.
It's
It's
forgiveness.
glorious. It's honorable.
It
Yeah,
is.
but
It
it's
is.
also, you
It's a
know,
forgiveness in a way that doesn't have to be made more difficult than not. Yeah,
and
brother,
that's
look,
the
can you
yeah
imagine the road rage from a human
yeah
being when somebody cuts in
yeah
front of you that
yeah
within the next 7 minutes of your life, you're killing that person over
yeah
what, right? Um,
yeah
the human brain, the human fallen nature of man, can take you a place where you never intended to go, and those
yeah
only walking in Christ, walking in faith, can resist these urges or temptations that seemingly are getting more and more evil. You and I talked a little bit about. I think we probably are going to do our next episode maybe on. The Antichrist, the man of lawlessness. But there's also, we understand that John says it is here now, right? And it is coming,
yeah
meaning that
yeah
anybody who's opposed to Christ is antichrist. But there's also the
yeah yeah
spirit of this sort of this understanding that there's so much evil. There's always been evil. That Satan has never been stopped from performing evil. But have you noticed this, or like you're seeing this outward expression of people more and more who are just acting beyond stupid in their
yeah
acts of evil like we've never done since I've been alive. I've never seen it
yeah
like this before. And I don't think it has anything to do with what we can see at our fingertips with our phones and tablets and computers. I mean, interacting with people who are just outright just flipping evil, man. It's a trip. You
Yeah.
seeing that? You seeing that home there in Sweden?
Well, some, you know, we have some of it. Yeah.
But you know what I
Yeah, we
mean?
have a
I know
lot
I'm
of,
not talking about like somebody going and slashing up their family. I'm talking about like those are random acts of like senseless violence. I'm talking about just people getting pissed off at each other. Like I've never seen this before. Not at this high of a clip.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot because we hide behind screens.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I agree.
different when you meet them in reality. So there was a TV show in Sweden called, what was the name of it? It was like well, it wasn't called the echo chamber, but that's the word you would have used in America.
Okay.
So what happened in is what, for example, you saw there was a bunch of like so one of the episodes was about vaccination. So there was a bunch of those hyper, who was really into vaccination. and then uh, and then in another room that was actually just there was just a wall between them, and they didn't know that. And you had people who were like, by some reason, did not want to get the COVID
Okay.
vaccine. So and first the group who was all for and wanted to force everyone and all, you know, they got to see video clips of the anti-vaxxers, and they discussed how stupid they were and how can people think like that and all that. and
Yeah.
and then and the
As if people can't
anti-vaxxers
think for
they
themselves.
they
Yeah.
yeah, and the anti-vaxxers they were not anti-vaxxers, but let's use the word for being making it easy. They just you know
Yeah.
they thought they were autonomous human beings who can decide. So and they got to see all those like commercials about getting the vax for everyone's sake and all that, and so they were like irritating over that side. And when they had when they had like fumed each other up in those separate groups, they pulled up the wall between them and they had to face each other. And all of a sudden they start to see each other as human beings. And there was, but I just want to well, I don't, would like to ask you, why didn't you get the vax? And so one was like, well, my sister got it, and she got a really bad allergic reaction, and she almost died, and I didn't want to take that risk. And then they go, oh, and all of a sudden, they were not enemies. They just had to see each other face to face and ask each other questions, and then they were all human beings again. And that was
It's a
really interesting. It was a really good show. I was proud of public service that day because I think they did a good job.
yeah, yeah. I want to
But
play
the,
you
they
I want to play you a video clip and I want you to
yeah,
hear it's a very short one, but I really would
yeah,
like you to hear what was said in it, okay?
yeah,
And
okay,
cuz it's going to go right along with what you just described, okay?
yeah,
So the moral of the story is here though is you have people who have vehemently been outspoken against one another.
on safe
It's
distance, right? Yeah,
yeah, in safe distance, whether it be on media or social media, and then they come together in the same room, and wouldn't you know it, they had a conversation, Carl,
yeah,
and they were able to express what they didn't agree with one another. But at the end of it all, they were having a civil, peaceful conversation. That's what happens when people
yeah,
are want to take the approach of I'm going to put down my anger and my
yeah,
stance and listen to another human being. And,
yeah,
and you'd be surprised, just like this with the vaccine. I have gotten to the point where I didn't, I'll be honest with you, I didn't take it. I have a
Yeah.
lot of loved ones who did. It's a nice shot of your closet, by the way. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't take it. I have loved ones who did take it. I have no problem
Yeah.
with people who took it. The only
Uh,
people I have a problem with, or have ever had a problem with, was those who won't have anything to do with me
want to
because I didn't take it. Right?
yeah.
At the same time,
Those
but
who
I'm being
wants to force you or stop you, those are the problems. Right.
man.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I can post a picture of something on social media of my, my dog, my family, or a joke. I
Yeah.
get a lot
Yeah.
of responses, comments. And I posted one about Fauci, and it was Fauci
Yeah.
stating, hey, it was a very short clip, and it's Fauci making the comment, you you take the vaccine, you're not at risk. You don't take
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
you're at risk. And then the flip side of that, he says, well, I just got
Yeah.
sick 2 weeks ago with my third time, and I've been vaccinated with 6 shots. And it's just the irony. It's like that
Yeah.
vaccine did not stop it. Now,
No, it did.
did it prevent some people from getting it? Perhaps,
Maybe.
maybe, but a lot of people,
Yeah.
some people have had no response to it, and other people have died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless, now, if you move to another, let's say Norway has a tree that
Yeah.
you're allergic to. I moved from
Yeah.
California, United States, to the middle of America. And in the middle of America, there's these things called cedar trees. And I'm
Yeah.
horribly allergic to cedar. Cedar does not
Okay.
exist on the beach in California.
No.
Cedar exists in the Midwest. And so
Yeah.
every year for 4 months, I have to do something about sinus infections because I get really,
Yeah.
really sick from it.
Yeah.
Those are called allergies, and allergies occur. They happen to every human being, and in certain
Yeah. I
environments,
know.
they
I.
can die. Right?
Yeah.
But injecting yourself with something that you get sick from and can die is, to me, now again, you can take it, and if you have no problems with it, good for you. But don't
I.
shove that shit in my face, Carl. Don't
Yeah.
shove that shit in my
I.
face.
You know. I did take it, and I was horribly opposed to everything like vac sports and stuff. And people always
Sure.
assumed that I didn't take it. But I said, yeah, I did, but it was my choice. It's not
Use
the
your
point.
decision. Right.
It's not the point, take it or not take it. The point is if someone tried to make me, you know, because that is against the, I think it's a Nuremberg trials where
Yes.
they, you know, it,
Nuremberg
you cannot do stuff to medical stuff to people without informed consent.
with consent.
And you,
That's the
yeah,
key. It's
but not
consent.
informed consent. What
So,
happened if anyone raised their voice about the risks? Shut up from YouTube. Shut up from Facebook.
well, let me
So
ask you a question about in Sweden.
yeah,
How was it? Was it really forced? Was it a mandated force? Was
no,
it
no.
okay? There you go. See,
It was a social pressure, but it was not forced.
okay, so it wasn't like Canada.
And no, it was not like Canada. We were one of the freest countries in the world. But in the very last before Boris Johnson saved us from COVID by getting his
Right?
by getting in the crossfire. Just before that, we had vax sports, but it was not like every. It was like if you there was concerts and movies and stuff. I'm against it, but I will just not go. You know,
Yeah.
I would just not go to the movies. I would
Well,
just not go to that show. Well, you are vaxxed, yeah, but I'm not showing you my passport for it. So so I'm
I don't.
staying home.
I think
You
it's
know,
it's really disingenuous of a human being, for instance, to say, "Oh, it was all a conspiracy and a sham." No, man.
it was no, it
Well,
was a real
right?
thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Well,
it was a
but
psychosis
okay. Well,
also.
let me say this: it's
Yeah,
disingenuous to say it when people did die. Now,
yeah,
was it? It was created in a lab. It wasn't an accident. It was
yeah,
absolutely
yeah, yeah.
created in a lab. It was absolutely released onto the population intentionally. Our overreaction was ridiculous. And
Yes.
everybody, for the most part, overreacted, and the general public did because we didn't know what the hell we're dealing with. We didn't know.
No.
So
So the
once we
reason,
caught,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So we got wind of this, and most people began to go, I see through your crap, your bullshit. But
yeah,
regardless, I've held the hand of people who were dying from it. Now they were
yeah,
older, right? They were having
yeah,
health problems. But I've held the hand of two men who died from it and or
yeah,
problems from it. Now, again, it's released by a lab, so technically
yeah.
they killed these people. But
Someone needs to get killed for this.
yeah,
That's
amen. Well,
that's
but that's
back
what Fauci
back
gets
to,
his ass. Remember what happened with him? I feel like Robert De Niro. Remember what he said about that? Um, Fauci gets completely exonerated of any future charges by Biden. Any.
yeah.
He cannot be charged with mass murder. He can't be charged with
And you
it.
can't,
Well, yeah, he can
the
be.
street
Yeah.
justice.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, my brother.
So how many teeth is that?
Yeah.
It's not just, yeah.
That's a whole.
There's
That's
no
many mouthfuls.
That many mouthful of teeth. Should we talk a little about what's pronouns?
I would. I would. Right there. So I know the next time when we have our next episode, we're going to talk about this more
Yeah,
indefinitely. But as kind of a teaser, I was thinking about this one.
yeah,
When we say something like live and let live, right? Let love rule. The problem with that statement is that there's always been a line drawn in the sand. And then it's the old analogy of an inch taking a mile. So
yeah,
when they said
yeah,
we want people to just allow us to be free, like that anybody sexually
yeah,
immoral. But
yeah.
as soon as you get up to that line of sexual morality, it's pushed further along and a new line is drawn and you got to keep stepping back. That's the problem with where we're at
Yeah.
now. I look forward to that conversation. And obviously,
And
we need to
I
have one
also
about the
think
Antichrist.
you have a bigger problem with because of your language, because you go into a you go into a store in America, and this guy comes and he says, "What can I help you, sir?" We
Yeah.
don't say that in Sweden. We say, "Can I help you?" That's
Yeah.
what we say.
Yeah.
So we don't
Well,
use pronouns in that. I mean, we say her and she about people, but
you're
you
getting into
won't
the
go into it.
you
You
get
can
into
say
the older
you.
people. The older generation will say sir and ma'am. You get into these
Yeah.
younger generations, they don't use it as much anyway, so it's easy for them to
But
not
what
ask
you
it.
often see is someone in a store calling
Oh,
a girl, calling a lady with beard, sir, by mistake because it's
brother,
a
I
sir,
I do it out
and
of
then they get
respect.
angry, and I was like, why do you even say sir? Why don't you just say, can I help you?
Well,
You know, you
I grew
don't.
up where it was the proper thing to do. Is sort of like your
Yeah,
linguistic when you're raised with a certain linguistic. You say,
yeah. But
"Hey, hi, ma'am, can I
when you
help you?"
see
Or
when you see someone walking in with giant boobs and a big beard and
"Hi, ma'am, how are
lipstick.
you?"
I mean, when you see that, you 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 know you're walking into a trap.
Okay,
It's a proper
but
time to call
but
him you.
if the dude man is wearing a bra filled, right? And I say, "Hi, ma'am, what's going on?" And he wants to be called ma'am. I didn't offend him, but I want to go rip off his shirt and go, "These are not boobs. These are not boobs." Okay,
So
we
I
will
mean,
pick that
so
up.
do you, because of your language, you have a bigger problem with that because you
I
say
agree.
ma'am and sir and stuff, and we just say you. Everyone is you here. It's
Hello, you.
yeah.
Hello, you. I like that. Okay.
So and before it was like back in the old and polite days, you might call someone their profession,
Yeah.
like at least with more fancy professions
Yeah.
like uh, excuse me, doctor. You know, what would
Yeah.
what would the doctor like? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Well, we live in a
so
stranger culture. Okay, but this could probably tie into our conversation about Antichrist because of
yeah,
that. We'll see. I think the next conversation we have is going to be about pronouns and about this sexual revolution of our linguistics along with the Antichrist because I think they go hand in hand anyway. I
yeah,
think
I
if you
think they
can't
do too.
well, that's our take. A boy named Sue.
You read what the Catholics say, right? It's so
Yeah.
brilliant. It's so spot on.
Yeah,
Whenever you try to make a heaven, and whenever you try like every messianic hope outside of Christ, that's the Antichrist.
so let me tell our
And
listeners.
that
So Karl sends me the other day a couple things from the confession, the Catholic confession. I remember the word
Catholic
Catholic means
catechism.
universal. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
universal. Right now
yeah.
they've messed that
The
up.
Roman
Remember,
one.
yeah, they've messed it up a long time ago. But regardless, there is a universal Church of Christ. Whether or not we're not going to go any further than that. But what I was going to say is that these the two things that you said to me was really, really direct. I mean, you talk about getting the wording right. They nailed the
Yeah,
wording on the Antichrist.
they do that.
You know,
Uh,
they also nail an eschatological position, an end times understanding of what I hold to.
yeah.
There's, they get marriage right. They get having children and anti-abortion right. It's not to say it's just I'm not gonna pray to a saint, and I'm not praying to
No,
Mary.
no.
And these are the
It,
things that we struggle with the Catholic Roman Catholic Church, the RCC. But there are so many good things that come out of it. But again, it was built on the
yeah,
exact same church principle that the New
yeah.
Testament was built on. It just got
And
away from it.
they also got the best the best words is when it comes to the authority.
Hmm.
The citizen in his relation to government and government in relation to citizen. That's just brilliant how they lay it out. You know what
Yeah,
and where the lines are drawn and everything. And they are really unique in that way that they really think things through,
yeah,
and sometimes they overthink. that's that's why we have a problem when they come
I agree.
to salvation. They kind of overthink or underthink, I don't know, but there are problems there.
Well, I think we can tie that in together in the next episode. Two final questions for you. One is on your spring failures. Do you notice that 5 years from now that you're going to be fully gray like this? Probably.
I kind of am fully gray.
Second question. How inspiring was it to see that festival, the music festival for your own band?
Oh, it was very inspiring to see that festival.
I'm looking
It
forward
always
to.
is. Yeah.
Well, I'm always obviously um, looking
So
forward to.
I'm gonna send you what I can find on from of Ash.
Yeah, please do.
You,
You
you
know,
always was hot.
if they're not copyright, we can play a little clip on here for everybody if they got some
Yeah,
stuff on
because they have
YouTube.
not recorded that stuff yet. So yeah,
Yes. Oh, speaking of which, before I end this recording and we
yeah,
finish the show today, um, so I
yeah,
reached out to the guys in Symphony of Heaven
yeah,
to do a fellow Freaks interview for Freaks of the
yeah,
Vine.
yeah,
And they responded. We haven't set up a time yet, but I just
yeah,
wanted you to know. Thank you for turning me on to
yeah,
them when you did some video work for them.
yeah.
Tell us
Yes,
about
I
the
did.
video work. So they're out of Indiana. Is it Southern
Yeah,
Indiana? Indiana, folks.
it's Owensville, and I can't
Okay,
remember if it's southern or northern.
Indiana is mostly famous for the Indianapolis 500 and also for producing Larry Bird out of French Lick, Indiana. Not known for its death metal scene. And Symphony of Heaven is badass.
Yeah, and the thing is that they also, the thing the kind of mythical backdrop we did for the Aurum record with this ancient order and everything.
Oh yeah.
They Symphony of Heaven, they have now taken it and ran with it. So so they are carrying that torch, and they are they are operating in this shadowland between like theology and literature, like
Well,
fiction.
yeah, that's a great way
And
to
and
put it.
and it's like I feel like one of those, let's say, baseball dads that didn't make that didn't make the A team, and then they lived
Yeah.
through their son. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
how it feels,
They live
because they
living vicariously was what we call that. Vicariously
yes.
through your
So
child.
so I can get like I try to go to sleep, and uh, I'm like when you wake up in the middle of the night, and then bloop, I hear my phone and I look and it's Mason, and he's like, "What happened in 409 BC when the order was almost wiped out?" And I like, I don't know. I, I'll I'll look into it. You know. So it's
That's
so much
great.
fun, and I have been writing, like fleshing out that story for several. I've been doing that a lot lately because one of he is not in Symphony of Heaven, but he is a guy who helped me with the books and stuff we made, and he's like, "You have to write this down because you have no excuse because your sons have moved out. You just have to do it." And so I've started to write stuff down because it's like it's a world up here, it's a universe, but it's not written, you know. But it's getting there, and
I,
it's because of
yeah,
the symphony guys mostly that just push me to
that is the beautiful blessing about metal.
yeah,
Getting to starting. We started doing Freaks of the Vine 5 years ago. It was in COVID, October 5 year. It would have been 5 years, and we're still doing it. But along the way, I just decided to start interviewing these bands, right? That
yeah,
I'd wanted to. I used to interview all these bands when I did radio, when I did a Christian radio program, and metal was my genre. So I liked interviewing whoever I could. But along the way, I've been able to interview like Doug Van Pelt from
yeah,
Heaven's Metal, the founder of Heaven's Metal, of course,
yeah,
Pastor Bob Beeman. I've interviewed Jimmy Brown from Deliverance,
yeah.
Basili from Saving Grace, Christopher Scott from Precious Death. The list goes on and on. And I reached out to you, and you were very, very gracious with your time, and that's how we struck up
Yeah,
a
yeah. Well,
friendship.
that's it. Might be you that are gracious with your time.
Well, but I enjoyed talking to you because you're like this wealth of
Yeah, well, I
knowledge, and I was
enjoy
like,
talking to you, so I
we
wouldn't do it
bounce.
if I didn't enjoy it. That's
Yeah,
the
it's
kind of
true.
man I am.
No, I did
But
the
how
we called it for a little while. I called it the my interviews with you after the initial one. We were calling it Deep Thoughts with the
uh,
Swede.
deep thoughts of the sweet? Yeah, and
And I
I
love that
remember
introduction because Gage
yeah,
did that introduction, and I was like, man, and now we're doing this one, and you did it, which is
I
even cool.
you could always cut stuff out from TransAtlantic and make short, deep thoughts of the Swede if you would like to. Just
I need to, but yeah,
so
Symphony of Heaven. But because of that, you introduced me to them, and then now I'm
yeah,
stuck on their new album. So, yeah,
so
hey, throw a plug at them. Tell them that I'm not a freak.
yeah, he's not
Well,
a
I
freak. It's a
am.
great band. It is a great band, and they are building a universe as we speak.
Well, I'm
It's
driving
more than music.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm driving through Indiana here in a couple of
yeah.
months, so I'm just gonna after the interview, I was gonna see if I can holler at him in Owensville, right?
Owensville,
Owensville.
yes.
Yeah, not
That's where
Owensboro.
Logan. That's where Logan is at.
Okay, okay.
I don't know where the other guys are, but that's where they
Well,
have the rehearsal and recording room in the base.
yeah,
Where else? You know.
dude.
So
You when you
have you
told
have you ever
me,
seen?
oh, when you told
I
me
think
about or they kind of took Orem and they ran with it.
yeah,
I was like, really? I can't see that. I'm like, holy cow! Yes, they did,
yeah. You have
dude.
seen the. I mean, you have seen the what the album they made.
Yes, read the
Yes.
words.
What's it? It's
Uh, um,
is it Aurum Archaea or something like that?
yeah, or Ordo something Archaea. Yeah, I can never
Yeah,
think of the
yeah,
second
Ordo
one.
Aurum Archaea. Yeah, the
Yeah,
like the yeah
so you got to be
the
proud.
origins of the order.
You have to be
Yeah, yeah,
proud that you
yeah.
influenced.
I'm very glad for that. I just need kids to play with, kids who are as childish as I am myself.
Amen. Amen.
You know what?
That's
I really need to get in touch with someone who makes role playing games or something because I could just feed them worlds like this.
kind of role
I
playing
don't
games
even
you're
have to
talking
think
about.
about
No,
it.
you need,
I,
yeah, a
I,
new edition of Dungeons and Dragons, Karl style.
yeah, or our own Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I've never done that stuff myself at all. But
It's a blast.
looking back, I think it's weird that I didn't because
It's right down your
it's cut
alley.
out for me because it's just right. It just
Oh
when I
yeah,
start
it's
making shit up, it just never stops.
all right.
I
Well,
can
we're gonna cut our.
I can send you what I wrote today.
Would you? I'd
After
love to. Okay,
it's
I've got to
it's
see this.
nasty stuff, but it's
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you guys for
yeah.
joining us in another edition of Transatlantic. We are Karl is over in Sweden. I'm here in the United States, and we found a common ground to talk about a lot of different things. So our next episode will be a total blast. A couple episodes coming up over the next week and a half after we get done recording this one, and I think I fixed my audio problem. I was on the wrong. I was recording. Okay, so this is here, right? And I forgot to click the switch. And so the last episode, I'm using the laptop microphone. Kind of embarrassing.
Well, you know what? You should cut in videos with of Ash
I'll do
before they
that.
get before they have copyrighted. I'll
Okay, well
send
we
you
got to.
what I find.
We are going
Yeah.
to open up our next episode with Abash, and then we'll talk about our topics. Till next
Mm.
time, that's Karl, and I'm
Yeah, that's me.
Patrick, and we owe you
Yeah,
guys a salute.
yeah,
Thanks for listening to
yeah.
Transatlantic. Karl, salute him.
Goodbye.